what are my priorities and how am I spending my time? And what do I want to feel proud of and what might I regret? And so it's designed for that purpose, to just open up your eyes to yourself. That then often leads to, well, in light of those revelations, now here's what I'm going to do. Because that's the key thing, right? It's like one thing to have insight. That's nice. But what are you going to do about it?
Well, yeah, I mean, the whole point of knowledge is to use it and take action, because the only time that knowledge without action is useful is if you're a contestant on Jeopardy. I mean, it's just, that's pretty much it. And even they're taking action because they're winning money.
Welcome to Old Guy Talks to Me, a podcast dedicated to helping guys create kick-ass lives for themselves and those that they love. Ladies, if you want to know what your guy is thinking, this podcast is for women too. Each week, a special guest helps you create that life you've imagined. We talk anti-aging medicine, personal growth, relationships and hot sex. Yeah, you hear me, getting laid more frequently, other guy vices, and topics that many don't want to talk about but need to. Just because you're getting older doesn't mean you have to be old. Don't want to miss anything? Be sure to subscribe, share, rate, and review this podcast. And be sure to go to www.thestandard.academy/magazine and grab a free copy of our new digital magazine, The Standard Academy, where we talk about erogenous zones, growing hair back, and other things that will help you create that kick-ass life. Now get ready to listen up and share with friends.
So I just finished an exercise. It was a 3-day exercise. I'm in a group. It was a 3-day quarterly planning exercise. And it starts off, first of all, the first day is getting a baseline of where you are. 2, figuring out where you want to go in 12 months, or in my case, it was 15 months. And then also figuring out the next quarter. And so that's 3 days for each of those. It's a very, you come out with an incredibly in-depth plan. Yeah. But one of the things that it is about, I mean, my tendency is to sit home and, or sit on my patio, and I have a man cave outside with a TV, and to sit outside and have a cigar and a drink and watch a movie. So we do that, but I think that sometimes, like, I will say, like, okay, I'll tell my wife, okay, this is what you need to get dressed. Kind of, this is kind of the dress attire, and we'll order an Uber, and I'm not telling her where we go. Oh, so that thing. But I will tell you, the listeners too here, and maybe you know this. There's a series of books called Adventure Challenge. Are you familiar with them?
No, and I'm writing it down. Tell me more.
And so they have a couples version. And we have not been nearly as good as I would like us to be. And that's one of the things we're really going to work on this quarter is once a month, you just pick an event out of this book, and you can do it. And sometimes you can do them at home. Sometimes you have to go somewhere, whatever. And there's a guide that kind of tells you, okay, this is an evening event. This is a morning event. This is at home, blah, blah. And you scratch off, and it tells you what to do. One of the things that we did was, we had to bake a cake at home, but one person is blindfolded, and the other person, that person can talk, but the person who's not blindfolded can't talk. And so they have to go take you through the process of making a cake, the mixer and all that stuff. So that's kind of a fun event at home. Another thing that we did was we said to go to a bookstore, pick out a cooking book, and have a stranger pick something out for you to cook. Okay, so that is those are kind of like, those are things that are unique, but it's not like you have to have like a fancy dinner, or right. It's just something to do that gives variety to your life. Okay.
Oh my gosh. Okay, first of all, I'm like that whoever wrote that, I need to go, and if I wasn't already married, I would marry them. You're describing, when you just said variety, novelty is such a huge part of the research behind what I do. And it's crucial for the human experience of being alive. There's this concept called psychological richness, and it's about a life well lived is one that does have spicing up some of the routine, doing something that does feel new, that maybe does tap into some of the curiosity you already have, or is just plain, who knew? Like, I've never made my own homemade pad thai before, so let's try this. That's the stuff that breaks the monotony of what we typically do. And it is a huge example of adding vitality and sometimes meaning into life.
Yeah. I can't remember who the singer is, but he sings a song, and one of the lines in the song was, when was the last time you did something for the first time?
Oh, first time. Yes. Same thing about, what about something that made you feel a little bit nervous?
Yeah.
Like I'm very interested in, there's a wheel of emotion, that there are actually hundreds of emotions as humans we feel that we don't always access. Now, we, of course, would prefer not to go to the dark side. We're not looking to feel despondent, but what about the feeling of, like, get back into curiosity? Like, what makes you feel inspired? What makes you feel hopeful? What gives you joy? Like, actually making those as like little mini assignments or positive interventions to say, today I'm going to do, or this week, this is going to be the week of freaking inspiration. And I'm going to watch inspirational movies. I'm going to go seek out quotes. I'm going to make brunch with my most inspirational friend. I'm going to catch up with that guy I knew from college who is like inspiration mountain climber galore. Like, indulge the positive emotions that are a little bit new to us. Because again, we're just tapping into and accessing different parts of being alive that we just let, it gets dormant, especially as we age.
Yeah. It's reaching out to people, I think is an important part. And actually, one of the benefits of COVID was the almost universal familiarity with Zoom. and so we moved to Las Vegas about 4 years ago, a little bit over 4 years ago. I grew up and lived in Phoenix since 1960, except for going away to college. But I have friends that I will have a Zoom virtual cigar with and a cocktail. I have each of my kids and my oldest daughter's boyfriend individually. I will have a Zoom happy hour with them once a month.
Love it.
And that allows me to, and I think once a month is about right. I think if you do people like, I'm going to do it every week, like, bullshit. If you try to do it every week, it won't happen. It's too often. And it's also kind of, you become a helicopter parent with your kids. You got to give them some space to live their lives. But we have great conversations. And sometimes they're important conversations. Sometimes they're frivolous. Sometimes they tell me about what's going on in their life, good and bad. Sometimes I tell them what's going on in my life, good and bad. And so I think that, having those kind of conversations and reaching out to people, and a lot of times people appreciate being reached out to, especially maybe if you haven't talked to them in a long time and maybe you had a good relationship with someone. People's lives diverge and they go in different directions. But reaching out to someone via Zoom is not a bad way of doing things.
You're spot on. There's recent research that even says how we underestimate the impact it might create, even in texting an acquaintance to say, hey, thinking about you, how you doing? Like, even that reach out, not only, it's the beautiful thing is it's win-win. I love win-win. Everybody wins. Is that you feel kind of good because you just made a gesture. Hey, I was thinking of you. It's been a while. And maybe, I don't know, some kind of fun emoji. And then the thing is, the landing pad for that person about how it feels to be thought of, to be acknowledged, to be seen, or, wow, I crossed someone's mind. That feels pretty nice. It's just a little tiny warm and fuzzy boost. And in a world where there's just so much shit going on, all we just want are just a bunch of little tiny little dips and drips of good feeling. So the reach out is huge. And you're tapping into this premise of positive psychology. So that's my area of expertise. And so one of the founders of the branch of psychology known as positive psychology, which is the scientific study of lives well lived, his name's Chris Peterson. And when asked kind of succinctly about like, what is the core to well-being, he said, other people. And then he said something I love. There may be no happy hermits. And whether you are more introverted or not, whether at the end of the day, the way in which we have any kind of social connection to people is the stuff that gives more meaning and more fun to life. And there's a trade paperback. It's a book, not paperback, but it's called Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. And this palliative care nurse wrote this after looking after a bunch of people in hospice, and her observations are pretty poignant. And one of the ones, as you could imagine, well, I'm curious what you would think some of the top 5 regrets of the dying are. But one of them on this point is that I wished I'd stayed in touch with my friends. Because, at the end of it all, like you can't have a fun conversation with yourself at the end. Well, actually, some of us might be able to, depending on our marbles, what's going on up there. But it is about other people.
Yeah, I think keeping track of your friends and knowing your friends will change over time. I think having friends is really important. At the same time, I think I very actively choose who I hang around with. I don't let it be a random event.
Okay.
As everybody's the well-worn statement is that you're the average of the 5 people you hang around with. Yeah. And so I very actively pick who I am. My Friday cigar group is we got former CEOs, we got probably one of the most prominent lawyer in Las Vegas, we got others in that group, and they're not always there on Friday, but they're part of that group. And so I'm like I said, I think it's very important about who you pick. And if you're the best person in the group, you picked the wrong group.
Oh my gosh, who was it that said, like, I don't want to be a member of any club that'll have me as a member?
That was Groucho Marx. That was Groucho Marx. Yeah.
Well, Horace, I like your style here because you're like high performer, self-actualizer. That's how you find meaning. I high five you there. I'm with you. And you're describing something cool because I think there's you're hanging out with people that make you better and that give you new ideas. It sounds like these are obviously successful in people in their fields, and that there's probably something really scintillating and probably for you pretty electric about, ooh, cool, tell me more.
And you may say something and none of them would be averse, and neither are my words. They'll look at you and go, that's really stupid.
Yeah. So they're gonna be real. Well, see,
definitely. Yeah. It's not a kumbaya group. I mean, it's like, that's really stupid. What makes you think that would work?
You are an idiot. Well, you're highlighting, I think, 2 things. So I recommend what you've got, which is a peer group that elevates you. And that to me is more on the, like, maybe it's a bit of School of Hard Love. Like it's a little bit of elevate me. I'm going to call it, it's not just professional development, but like personal professional development. There's another group that I'm going to recommend, and you may also have this, because that does not sound touchy-feely. And you may actually have some guys in that group that you're like, you know what? You're a bit of an asshole, but I still respect the shit out of you. And that's okay. Here's the thing. There is this thing called like social contagion. And it is that the way people make you feel is actually contagious. And so if you hang out with, let's just pick another group of 5 people, or just people in your social group that you're like, these are people that make me feel really, really great. And because you know the difference between the downers in your life. They just like you like they suck the energy out of the room, or they're.
I've cut toxic people out of my life. I've actually cut toxic family members out of my life that we don't speak to anymore. And that was very consciously done too, because every time after I dealt with these 2 particular family members, all I wanted to do was go drink, and not have a drink. I wanted to go drink.
Like as a profession.
I just wanted to go get trashed. It's like, it was constant. And and there's been my mother-in-law, God bless her, of all the people in a family situation, of all the people I'd want to sit next to at Thanksgiving, it's my mother-in-law. But she was thinking about trying to make reparations between us, and I was like going like, no, They're not changing, and I'm not changing, and we're just going to end up in the same place. I'm not good. I don't want the trauma of it.
Okay.
And so kicking out toxic people out of your life is actually very important.
I love this conversation because while seems like a noble mission to repair, and I guess I don't want to.
It's another one of those should, or you should do this. Like, no, totally. I don't want to.
Totally. Yeah. We're not necessarily, moral of the story isn't to burn every bridge down after today because life's short, but you know what? I think you're probably going to be a role model for many to hear you say that. Because at the end of the day, if our experience is dictated by the feelings we get as a result of who we're hanging around, and the research even shows that there are 2 degrees of separation from your social network. So for example, the friend you hang out with on Wednesday for a cigar smoke, they are still oozing their relationship experience from the morning off on you. And so you can't control that, I know. And now we're getting really esoteric, but it is so freaking contagious. The negativity is contagious. The positivity is contagious. And so of course it behooves us to intentionally be around people that make us feel good and to intentionally edit the people that don't out.
Yeah.
You've done it.
You need to really, and that doesn't mean that they're all going to be, nice, but what you want people that are going to help. It just goes back to what we started off, to help you be a better version of yourself.
Yes.
That's really, and sometimes that's not pleasant. Yeah. Sometimes you have to face some things that are not pleasant about yourself.
Okay. Well, this goes back to your Friday night smoke group that sometimes they'll tell you how it is. I bet you in your men's groups, I know your style, you coach people with candor.
Oh,
right?
I was on a call yesterday and I just said, there's a total disconnect here. There's a total disconnect. You're saying one thing, you're acting, and so you're just, which one do you want? But you have what you're telling me doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And they were kind of stunned and I don't know. My wife laughed. She has a women's group every once in a while. Sometimes we'll have 14 or 15 people, and then sometimes we'll just have one person.
Yeah.
And this was the time we had one person, and this woman was telling the story, and I was sitting listening to it, and my wife was listening to it, and I just looked up and I said, I don't believe what you're saying. And she was startled.
Yeah.
I said, I don't believe what you're telling me. And it just, something just wasn't right about it.
Okay.
And then she admitted she wasn't telling me the truth.
Oh, so you cut through the bullshit. And here's where this to me feels like a little bit of a must for people. It's finding somebody in your life who can help you edge up and learn. So that's self-reflection, because most of us, I think the latest research is that 95% of us think we're self-aware. And yet only 12 to 15% of us actually are. We need people like you, and hopefully in the work I do with some of the people I work with,
you do.
Somebody to be able to say, like you said, there's a disconnect or hold up, but we need that in order to, like you said, be the best versions of ourselves. And so if we've got, 1,900 Mondays left, it's don't you want to be living in a way where you get to optimize who you are, how you do what you do? And it might feel like a little bit of a poke in the ribs if someone does point out something to you.
It is.
Do you need accountability? Are you looking to change the course of your life but have failed to keep on track? Too often we take in information and fail to act. Do you need an accountability program to stay the course? Then go to www.thestandard.academy and find out about my accountability program that goes with my course that helps you find out what you want, why you want it, and how to get it. The accountability program keeps you on track to get results.
But it'll heal.
It is. The men's group I'm involved in it. The men's group that I'm involved in, we refer to that as a kick in the dick.
Okay, I'm no longer going to say poke in the ribs. I'm going to say kick in the dick.
Yeah. It's just sometimes, sometimes you just need to be figuratively, slapped. punched, get punched in the face, it's especially if you're spewing bullshit, and with that bullshit, and that bullshit may actually be, oh, I have this perfect life, I always laugh because celebrities are going to get divorced because about a month before there's usually an article about how great their lives are. Like in some magazine, in a magazine, I mean, I never buy those magazines, but I read the titles at the supermarket. You're standing in line, they want you to buy this stuff, and like I go, oh, they're gonna get divorced. They're gonna get divorced, and sure enough, like next thing you hear like, oh, so and so getting divorced. I have to actually tell the truth. Most of the time, I don't even know who these people are. I have no idea who they're quote unquote celebrities. I'm like, yeah, who is this person? I have no idea who you are. Yeah. And that's a sign of my age and how out of it I am. But think about though, you're actually highlighting something I think that is, I realize it sounds pretty pedantic to bring everything back to science, but you're at a stage where it is actually inconsequential to you who Joe Blow is in Hollywood, because you actually have, it's called socio-emotional selectivity theory, which is just that your priorities change as you age. Yeah. So somebody who is in their 20s is going to be so consumed with novelty and like doing all the fun, new, crazy things. Whereas as we mature and we're like, yeah, I've watched the show, like I know what's going on. Now I'm more interested in quality of relationships and more meaning. So you're like, yeah, you shouldn't have to know who's on the cover of Star magazine anymore. Yeah, and there's times that I just don't care, and it's not I don't care in being an asshole, but quite frankly, how you feel is not that important to me. And right now, we're at a time where like, oh, you got to worry about people's feelings. Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, why do you care how I feel about you? What importance is that? And you make it important enough that you need me to feel good about you, and I really don't care about you. I may not like you, I may like you, but how I feel about you is not really important to your life. Yeah, it's fascinating. There's a gender difference there typically, but even still, right? Like it's obviously women are way more concerned about perceptions and pleasing. But you reminded me, I just met an awesome guy this past week who told me that he lost both of his parents within a 5-week span in 2017. So he said that his dad died of a broken heart shortly after his mom died. And that for him, it's like, that's a unfortunate memento mori, right? Like seeing grief is complicated. So that's just a whole different animal, but that woke him up to his life. And he said, the thing that occurred to me is like, I don't care anymore what people think about me. I don't care anymore about the way in which I'm perceived. I don't care anymore about, well, I shouldn't speak up on this board that I'm on because I should go with the flow and just agree with everybody that it's a good spend. Now I'm going to be like, you know what? Something seems fishy here. Why are we going to spend this money? I find that so motivating, right? Like, this is like, and what you usually find out is that you're not the only person in the room thinking that. But you're the only person that speaks up, and then once you speak up, other people start chiming in, and so I've always had this. As I mentioned earlier, I have very few filters, and when I say stuff, a lot of times I hear it the first time coming out of my mouth. It's just like and my wife looks at me like. Is that what you meant to say? Yeah, that's what I meant to say. And so I'll do that. And it's just, and a lot, like I said, I found a lot of times I'm saying the thing that other people in the room are thinking. And people appreciate that so much, right? You break the ice and give people permission to be like, oh, we don't have to be, it's not all about harmony here. It's about being real. That's something I think that is, I don't know, you've probably already fathomed it, but like I look at, not that I'm going to tell you what your purpose is. It's going to happen, right? Here's your purpose. Or it's like truth telling. Like it looks to me like it's important to you to just see it how it is and say it how it is and provide clarity there.
And that's a gift that most people aren't ballsy enough to be able to do.
Yeah.
And that, to me, whether it's your purpose or not, or at least it's just an outcome of something that's really cool about you.
Well, that's part of my coaching is to be on point. And I don't have, I don't zigzag a lot. And that's part of my, I don't know if you've ever taken the Colby A.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
That just revealed, it verbalized things that I knew about myself. I couldn't really, couldn't speak, I actually okay, now I understand why I am the way I am in a lot of ways. And so it was an interesting phenomenon in terms of figuring out who I am. But yeah, no, getting to the point. And I don't, laughing some, I don't play poker because I don't have a poker face. It's pretty obvious when I'm where I'm going. Yeah. So it's not that case. Jodi, I want to kind of ask you a little bit about. I saw something interesting on your website.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about the life jolting questions. I thought that those were kind of interesting.
Well, there are, I think something like 58 of them, but a slew of questions designed to have you go, oh. And so I'm a big fan of personal retreats. Of course, it's even better if you can do it as part of a men's group like you run or with a coach. But you know what? Go book a day, or even better, a weekend off. Go somewhere special. Or as I said to a group yesterday, the group at Warden, just even go to a really beautiful hotel lobby. Go sit down, have a good drink by your side, whatever that is for you. We would have a cocktail, I know, you and me, but and reflect on the questions. So they're meant, some of them are a little bit, softball-y. Some of them are meant to be intentionally jarring and thought-provoking around, whoa, wait, what am I doing essentially? And it's meant to wake you up to what are my priorities and how am I spending my time? And what do I want to feel proud of and what might I regret? And so it's designed for that purpose, to just open up your eyes to yourself. That then often leads to, well, in light of those revelations, now here's what I'm going to do. Because that's the key thing, right? It's like one thing to have insight. That's nice. But what are you going to do about it?
Well, yeah, I mean, the whole point of knowledge is to use it and take action. Because the only time that knowledge without action is useful is if you're a contestant on Jeopardy. I mean, it's just, that's pretty much it. And even they're taking action because they're winning money. But most of the time, people like, and this is actually the difference in my program is that my program has an accountability portion to it. It's a 90-day accountability program portion to it to keep you on track, because we've all been to seminars, taking notes, music blaring, look at the person next to you and say really meaningful shit that you won't remember next day to the person next to you, pound your chest, the desk, and then you come home and you put those notes on the bookshelf and never touch them again. Don't do anything with it. So yeah, you've consumed all this knowledge, but you're not taking action in it. So you mentioned the word retreats, and I know you have, again, I was looked on your website, and you have some retreats. Can you tell us a little bit about the retreats that you run? And are you doing them now in person, or is it still virtual?
Oh, you know what? Virtual, there is one that's going to be planned for late 2023. So it's in the works, and it's designed to be completely memorable, experiential. And so it's about getting people down and dirty with some of the exercises that people think sound shocking, but we're going to do a living funeral. We're going to get you to imagine you are a beautiful but slowly rotting corpse. And what do you want people to say about you? And how are you looking back on that life you lived? And we do a ton of thought experiments, some based in philosophy, most based in psychology. It's all empirically based, if anybody cares about that. And it's so much, it's fun. It's morbid with a twist, but it's like anything I do, it's designed to be eye-opening and irreverent and amusing, not demoralizing. So these are really cool things that are usually with about 8 to 12 people.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And are these, is it you just have one retreat, or do you have different kinds of retreats, or you just I imagine it takes a lot. Obviously, if anyone's ever done an event, they know that it takes a lot of energy to do a live event.
Yeah. And, at most twice a year, but next year it's slotted for one, and it's TBD because the location can be really important. There's this thing called dark tourism. Not sure if you've heard of that.
No.
It's the idea that many of us are actually motivated to travel to places where it actually is related to mortality. So we have like a very interesting fascination with death, right? So that's why we go to World War battlefields. We go and visit Holocaust sites. We go and visit Elvis's grave. Like, I did a Jack the Ripper walking tour in London. Like, we're kind of fascinated by the whole voyeuristic death thing. And so I just get kind of fun with it and be like, let's go somewhere cool where there are actually catacombs, or there is something that is just in the theme, which also then happens to have fabulous restaurants nearby.
Yeah. My daughter, my youngest daughter, likes to go to cemeteries. She's kind of.
Does she?
Yeah, she does. And so we were in in Savannah, Georgia, and the South has great cemeteries. And so on. But they also went to my ancestry is Ukrainian, and prior to the war, no one knew where Ukraine was. They go, oh, is that part of Russia? Now I don't have to go through that long explanation. But in Western Ukraine, in a city, the largest city in Western Ukraine is Lviv, and they have an incredible cemetery. Really? They have like a grand piano, tombstone, all sorts of. It's wild there.
Wow.
It's just it's a wild cemetery, but I know that. But cemeteries are interesting. New Orleans obviously has great cemeteries, but my youngest daughter likes to go to cemeteries, and we actually had to go spend an afternoon at a cemetery.
Fascinating. What does she like about it?
I don't know. She just kind of likes the whole idea of the death thing, and not that she's fatalistic. I mean, she's not morbid, but she's just kind of likes it. Her favorite holiday is Halloween, and so we've done that fairly often. So so you have retreats, and tell some of the other services you have. You do one-on-one coaching, is that correct?
Yeah, one-on-one coaching, and the way I spend most of my time these days is doing workshops and keynotes. So I love nothing more than getting up in front of a group and saying, hey, like, let's wake up and figure out how you want to live. And it's usually a pretty like energizing event in the way that it gets people feeling it kind of together. There is something electric about a group. It even does work virtually. Obviously in COVID, everything I did was over Zoom or whatnot. But groups, teams, leaders, normal people too, one-on-one, helping people wake up and figure out, how do I want to live this life, and how do I get accountable to live wide and deep? Because maybe they are like me with tendencies to just sort of live narrow, or maybe after COVID, we have to learn how to live again and get out there and actually start to make the things happen. And usually it's because we're all very busy with work. We're doing really well, and we're getting caught up in the just rigmarole. And we need to pause and say, if it ended today, I would have so many things on my book of coulda, shoulda, wouldas, and that's just not good enough for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you mentioned that. I saw that in your book of couldas and shouldas.
Coulda, shoulda, wouldas.
Coulda, shoulda, wouldas.
Yeah.
And so that's all great. Yeah. And so we have in the show notes, we're going to have your social media links, as well as a link to your website. And I would encourage everyone to go on your website, because there's lots of good resources, and you even have free stuff there. And the PDFs, including the questions, the engaging questions, which I found that pretty interesting. So do that. All right. Well, Jodi, I want to thank you. It's been a very interesting conversation that we had. We went to a lot of different places, and about the Mondays and how many Mondays do you have left, and to make it's never 100%, of making the most out of your life, but if you focus on it a little bit, you're going to have a better life.
Oh, that's so well said. Yeah. Let's notch it up.
Right. So I want to thank you for coming on the program. And again, Jodi Wellman can be found at on our website, which there's a link there to it. And I want to thank you. And thank you for coming on the show. This is Orsi Official. This is Orsi Official Old Guy from oldguytalkstome.com. And I want you to do several things. I want you, first of all, to share, rate, subscribe, and review this program. And if you haven't already signed up, I want you to sign up for my free digital magazine at the standard.academy/magazine. There's stuff there to help you create a kick-ass life, including some articles from some of my guests, which include why men are pissing in their pants and one secret place to touch a woman. And no, it's not there. It's not there. That's not the place. Her clitoris is not the place. It's not a secret place. So until next time.
Thank you for joining Dr. Orist and his incredible guest. Like what you heard and learned? Then be sure to do 3 things. 1, subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. 2, share this with someone who may need to hear it. 3, leave a review and rate this podcast. Opt in at www.thestandard.academy/magazine and get our free digital magazine with savings, articles, and deeper dives into cool controversy. Be the guy who takes action. Without action, you're not going to get the results you want. Thank you again, and make it a great day.